What's going on, everybody? It's Rob Brunson from Wallace Electronic Sales. We're back with another episode of the Electronic Intervention. I keep talking people into coming on. We've got a really cool guest today. It's actually something that we haven't done yet. It's not a manufacturer. This is a marketing guy, and he works directly with some of the manufacturers that we represent. So we thought it would be really cool to bring him on, talk about kind of how marketing looks before COVID, post-COVID, if anything's really changed, and how the digital world is kind of affecting everything that people do in terms of marketing. It's Graham Kilshaw from Lectrix Group. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Graham on now. What's going on, Graham? How are you?
Hey, Rob. Good afternoon. Delighted to be here.
Great. How's the weather up in Philadelphia?
Well, take a look for yourself. It's a beautiful summer sunny day in suburban Philly.
Nice.
Great day.
Perfect.
Here, finally.
It's starting to get a little hot here in North Carolina. So I wear these pullovers. I might eventually have to switch over to a short sleeve shirt here and be a little bit more practical. So I'm not sweating so much. But that's neither here nor there. So I want you to tell us a little bit about this because, again, all the other episodes I've done has been with manufacturers, right? So this is kind of a 180 from what we're used to doing. I think it's really exciting because you work directly with manufacturers, but you do something completely different, which I think is really cool. So tell us a little bit about you and tell us a little bit about Lectrix.
Yeah, sure. Which one do you want first?
Let's go with you first, since I really like, the human experience of these interviews, and I want to know Graham more than I want to know Lectrix. We'll talk about Lectrix, but I really want to talk about you.
All right, so a little bit about me. So I grew up in a very small town in England called Boston. Boston in England, Google it. It's a lost piece of history, Rob. If you go back to your Pilgrim Fathers,
okay,
Boston, England, this tiny little port on the east coast facing the Netherlands is actually where the Pilgrim Fathers were imprisoned before they finally escaped. And then they sailed down the east coast and along the south coast to Plymouth.
Right.
It says, oh, they came from Plymouth. Well, Plymouth was like the jumping off point from the English coast, but the journey starts in Boston. And there's really not a whole lot there now, except for the jail cells. The building where they were imprisoned is still there. So, but if you go to Boston, there's no big sign saying, America started here or anything like that. But it really is a lost piece of history, and I'm kind of a bit proud of it. So
that's interesting.
I got a history question for you. Are you a history buff?
Somewhat. I do okay. So okay. Try me.
So Pilgrim Fathers sail from Boston in the county of Lincolnshire down the east coast, past London, along the south coast to Plymouth in Dorset, I think the county is. And they had to pick up three key things for the journey across the Atlantic. One was water, one was salt. What was the third thing that they absolutely had to have for the journey?
I would say food. I'll
give you a big clue. They were all men.
I have no idea. I don't know.
The third thing was women.
Oh, okay.
They recruit women to make the journey because they were going to start a
family. Right. Yeah.
You can check it out. It's
cool. Interesting.
I'm a guy, so I make a lot of stuff up, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
That part is true.
Yeah.
So that's where I, began life, Boston. Went to university in the South.
Okay.
Couple of times, but that's another story.
Sure.
Lived in London for several years post-college, worked for Rupert Murdoch's newspaper group.
Cool.
And another story. Ended up working for Disney for a few years, and that's how I eventually got my work career started in the US. But what got me here was my wife, and we met in a Covent Garden pub called the Essex Serpent.
Wow.
I always remember it. And as I say, kind of the rest is history. We met in the pub, we started dating. She was on a semester abroad program. She was a student from Lehigh University in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And then, one thing led to another, as they say, and eventually we ended up here in '95. So
Great.
That's how I got to the States.
Awesome. Well, I want real quick, what was working for Disney like?
Work hard, play hard.
Okay.
You asked about this knowing that I was coming onto your show, and I realized that the first 2 or 3 jobs for me post college were all work hard, play hard. Maybe some of that's the English culture, but working for the News of the World newspaper, required you to be able to, drink from lunchtime Friday, 11 o'clock Friday night with a bunch of journalists, and then still go to work.
Right.
Sunday newspaper. Working for Disney, weekends does not come into the glossary of terms.
Sure.
You're in the entertainment business. So,
right.
Traveling between, I was working for the Euro Disney outfit. So sure. I was back and forth between London and Paris, once a week, something like that. So you really had to have a work hard, play hard mentality.
Right. That's really cool. Because we, when you're in sales, half the time, we go to these conferences and they always bring in someone from Disney, and they talk about how great the culture is, how everything's perfect. And, they want to have, it's really the whole dichotomy of saying, hey, you want your customer to be happy all the time, which, is a sales pitch, right? But it's funny. They always bring on Disney people over and over and over again. And I think it's a good example.
I think it was 94. I've still got my, it's now vintage baseball jacket from the launch of the Space Mountain roller coaster.
That's awesome.
Euro Disney. And I was the sort of project manager of that for the UK.
Yeah.
And so the big opening event of this new roller coaster, we hired Elton John to do a concert.
That's so cool.
His big hit was Rocket Man. So Rocket Man, Space Mountain, And I can remember probably not going to sleep for about 4 days. It was literally round the clock. And, and of course it poured with rain, as you would expect it to do. But we had Buzz Aldrin, and we had
That's awesome.
Roy Disney, the nephew of Walt Disney. I mean, I can remember this stuff just about these days, but it really did require that kind of work hard, play hard mentality.
For sure. So I have a funny story for you. So believe it or not, 30, what could be 40 pounds ago, I played college basketball. And my basketball coach in college, he had 2 younger daughters. And when I was in college, when I say younger, they were probably 9 to 13, somewhere in that range. Okay. And we actually went down to Orlando to play a tournament, and I played shooting guard in college, and I'm about 6'5", 6'6". But I was one of the smaller guys on the team. And, we're all excited. We're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get to go to Universal, right? Because we're a bunch of college kids. We're like, we want to go see the Marvel stuff, all that really cool that, middle-aged guys think is really cool. So we're like, he's like, all right, guys, come on. We're taking you guys on a trip. And we're like, this is it. We're going to Universal. So then we pull up to Disney World, and so you've got a whole basketball team walking around Disney. Everyone's looking at us like, we're completely out of place. And I think we probably rode Space Mountain 30 times. We just rode that ride over and over and over again. And we were really bummed when we pulled up, but it actually turned out to be a lot of fun, and we had a really good time. We just had an expectation level of Universal, and then we ended up at Disney, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a really cool experience. So that's my Disney story.
I've got one. I mean, we're going to tell stories, Rob. So I've got a funny Disney basketball story. I forget what the event was. This is mid-90s, just before I came here, I think. And I was standing in the bar, I think of the Grand Floridian Hotel, of what it's called, the big pink white mansion hotel at Disney World. And this very tall African-American gentleman comes up next to me at the bar, orders a drink, and we just chatted. I mean, he was 6'6" plus.
Right.
And I could see my colleagues staring at me. And then when he left, they came over and they were like, oh my God, how did you do that? I said, what? They said, Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley's the man.
I said, who's Charles Barkley? That's about as much as I knew about basketball.
Yeah.
But I've become quite a fan of March Madness over the years.
It's a good time. So tell us a little bit about Lectrix and why you started this company, and just really what it is you guys do.
Okay. Well, Lectrix wasn't always Lectrix.
Okay.
Before Lectrix was Lectrix, Lectrix was Item Media.
Okay.
And this was a publication, a publishing company.
Sure.
My late father-in-law started it 50 years ago last month. So we just published our 50th issue of Interference Technology.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I should have brought a copy around to show you, but it's got a big 50 on the front. Looks great.
Cool.
You know, and he started that about 2 miles from our home now in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania, in the bedroom that eventually was going to become my wife's bedroom when she was born. She wasn't even born. This is 71. I'm giving away her age and she's going to kill me, but and then he got kicked out of the bedroom into the garage. So it wasn't exactly a business that started in the garage, but it ended up in the garage.
That's right.
So he started this annual guide for the world of EMI and EMC, and it became a thing, a big thing.
Yep.
And then prior to that, he was one of the first EMI engineers, I think, in the country. He was working for the government. He was working for Lockheed. He was working on space projects. Do you remember that? Do you remember seeing that space story about how they tested rockets by sending monkeys into outer space and seeing if they would come back alive?
With the Tang orange juice?
Yes. So he worked on those. So Lectrix started out as a publishing company called Item Media. And he was retiring mid-90s when I came to the States, and we came to a mutual arrangement for me to buy the company, which I ran as a publishing company from about 97 to 2015, 2016. But, you know, marketing had been changing for quite some time by 2015. By 2015, I think it was in the full throes of a complete change.
Sure.
And so from that, Jeff Foreman, who works for me, he's the VP of marketing of Lectrix. He and I sort of sat down over the course, I think, of the summer of 2016 and said, all right, we got to go in a different direction here. And so we looked, like you do with market research, we went out to all of our advertiser customers from the magazine and said, we think we need to do something different. What help do you need when it comes to marketing? And the answer was everything. It's like, really? Could you be a bit more specific? But it was such a broad array of things. We said, okay, the industry needs an agency that can provide that full service. So that's kind of where we started. And we started out just serving clients in the EMI world, which is how Schaffner and Quell, your previous guests, came to be clients. But very quickly, since 2017, you know, we then developed clients in the circuit breaker world, the resistor world, the capacitor world, materials. We have a contract manufacturer client, PCI in Singapore, and now it's, you know, everything in the world of components and materials, essentially. And you know, our focus as we started to think about, well, what kind of company is Lectrix going to be? So in terms of what we offer customers, Jeff and I decided very quickly we didn't want to be a what some people may refer to as a pretty pictures marketing agency.
Sure.
We have a very almost religious focus on sales. So it's kind of hard calling yourself a marketing company when the thing you're really trying to do is sales, but we are a marketing company.
Sure.
So we're very focused on sales. But and then as a company of people, I think we're also a little bit different. 2 years ago, we became a 4-day work week company. So
that's interesting.
We're closed on Fridays, and that was a deliberate decision. So in the marketing world, it gets really intense, and trying to do creative work sort of under pressure is impossible.
Sure.
You need to step away and do nothing for those creative solutions to happen, right? You know this. Your best ideas don't come to you when you're sitting at a desk, sitting at a computer. They happen somewhere else.
Right.
Usually some unmentionable places is where the best ideas happen, right?
Right. It just blindsides you on a Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
So we decided, okay, we're going to make this part of our culture, and became a 4-day work week company. We do really cool. 4 days. We do 2 days in the office and 2 days remote. So we, even before the pandemic, we were a semi-remote company anyway. And then we do, I won't go through the whole list, but we have some very fun perks for people who work at Lectrix, you know,
Right.
very interesting birthday cakes, let's say, you know, gifts that appear for no reason whatsoever out of nowhere on your doorstep just to say, hey, thanks, we love working with you. So
Right.
we do lots of interesting things like that.
Speaking of funny gifts, you know, I was talking to my fiance and I said, you know, I'm going on with Graham. And last time I was talking to Ken, we were talking about the Arby's Meat Mountain. And I thought about sending a Meat Mountain to your house via DoorDash right before this started. But I said, you know what? I don't want to give Graham, you know, a heart attack on live stream. So I thought better of myself. I'm going to pull up your website just so we can kind of go over that just a little bit and just some of the things you touched on. It's obviously, you know, it's a marketing website. It's very modern looking. I like how clean it looks. I actually really like the colors. I did my best to make our little name tags down here the colors, but yours is a little not as bright. This one's a little brighter, but
I think, Rob.
Yeah, I did my best, right? So I thought what would really be helpful is down here, just the kind of what we do section, and see if you could give us kind of a 30,000 foot view. I know you've kind of already touched on it, but just talk about some of these bullet points here.
Yeah, so I talk about that sales focus. You know, we try to find, you know, a key metric that our clients are really focused on that's going to drive sales. It could be number of leads, number of meetings, number of Zoom meetings, number of new contacts. But so that's the thing, you know, that's the magic stone that we're always looking for with clients. How you get there is, you know, what's listed here. You know, you have to do a lot of strategy work to sort of get that whole plan in place. Full service, like I said, when we surveyed our clients, we said, how can we help you? And they said everything. So we're a full service marketing agency. So that's everything from branding to digital, search engine optimization, Google, social media, you know, account-based marketing, which is a whole other area, a lot of analytics and stats work. But at the end of the day, we're looking to create new sales opportunity for clients. That's where our strategy and full service piece goes. We're still a publisher. We still publish Interference Technology and another publication, Electronics Cooling, for the world of thermal management. And something that most people don't know about us is way before the pandemic, like 2014, we started a virtual events group and running successfully ever since. So we do events for our own publications. The EMC one's called EMC Live and the thermal one's called Thermal Live. Pretty simple. And it still shocks me the volume of attendance we've gotten for those events, even going back to 2014. And then so we started white labeling that product for clients to produce their events for them. And then, as you can imagine, in 2020, when the pandemic hit, you know, we were doing that for all sorts of people: TTI, DigiKey, CTS, a whole bunch of other companies.
Sure.
You know, and then, you know, keeping an open mind, we're now headed into things like e-learning as well. You know, developing online learning courses for people. So, yeah, we're pretty broad at the end of the day.
So I want, you know, we represent Schaffner and Quell. You know this. Explain to everybody what a qualified lead is. I know what that is, but just explain precisely what that is and what exactly we're hunting for.
Yeah, I love this question because you know, I kind of get on my pulpit a little bit about it, Rob. So
hey, this is your pulpit. This is your time.
So, you know, discussion in the sales team. What do you need more of? The answer is always leads. Okay, whether it's a rep sales team, distributor sales team, any sales team, they'll tell you they need more leads. Then you ask them, what's a lead? And then you're going to get 10 different answers. And that's where the game plan starts to come a bit unstuck unless everybody gets on the same page. So we created a framework that's borrowed from other people, but it's got our own pieces to it as well. So here's our definition of leads to get to your question.
Okay.
Leads in 3 categories. Number 1 is a contact. Name of a person, contact information, that's it. It's just sort of an inanimate piece of data, okay? Second level, marketing qualified lead, also known as an MQL. Marketing qualified lead is that contact from the first level has been on your website or maybe downloaded a white paper or visited you at a trade show, but there's no clear intent that they have a project in mind and that they have you in mind.
Right.
So maybe they're interested, maybe they're not. You know, I say sometimes the M in MQL should stand for maybe.
Right.
Maybe a qualified lead, but we're not sure.
Sure.
That's the MQL. Now you get to the top level, sales qualified lead, SQL. And the key difference between the SQL and everything else is the clear intent to purchase. So we obviously go for the SQL for our clients, you know, every month. That's what we produce for the likes of Schaffner, Quell, Omite, and the list, and so on, is we're looking for that buying intent data. We know Joe, he works at ABC Electronics in Rockville, Illinois. His email address, maybe his phone number, here's all the activity that he's demonstrated interest. He was on the website, he was on social media, he visited you at a trade show, and in one of these registration forms, he said he's got a project he's working on that's going to specify your type of product, your type of component, and then the last really critical piece is timing. When are they going to buy it? 3, 6, 9, 12, 24 months.
Sure.
You can't have buying intent without a timeline. So that's our framework: contacts, marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads.
Great. And so the next thing I wanted to ask you about was success stories, right? So I figured instead of you telling us your success stories, we just bring a couple of our friends on to explain some of the success stories that Lectrix has had for them. Because Graham, you can sit here and tell us how great you are, right? And he's got the magazine.
Got the book.
Congratulations, buddy. 50 years.
Thank you.
So I figured I'd bring Ken and Scott on. You guys know
This
who
is a
they
better
are.
picture, better picture.
Hey, Graham, how you doing?
I'm doing super, Scott. How are you? And where are you?
Well, I'm in my backyard because we're refinishing our hardwood floors, and there's dust everywhere. So this is the only quiet place in the house, which is not in the house.
You're not allowed inside.
You won't be in the house for a couple days. You have a tent in the back there, Scotty?
I got a little place for a tent in the back.
Good.
He's got a cot and everything.
I got a little brook that runs through the back of the yard.
Scott's a survivor.
Nice. Well, it's lovely to see you both. What a
Surprise.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring them on, Graham, to talk about their success with Lectrix instead of you doing it. I thought it would hold a little bit more weight with the customers. So if you want to ask them any questions, now's your time. If not, I'm going to kind of let them run. And then I got something pretty cool that we can talk about.
I'm going to do something I don't usually do, and that's shut up.
Okay.
Hey, we know that well, huh, Scott?
Well, Ken, we'll start with you.
Oh, you're going to start with me? You're going with the younger guy first. I understand. So thank you. Well, you know, as I said to you, Rob, in our conversation a few weeks ago, I mean, what Graham's company has brought to Schaffner is really a whole new dimension of new customers, new opportunities, new ways for us to really find new business. And I'll be honest with you, 4 years ago, before I started this whole thing, you know, I was very skeptical about the whole idea, and I was very unsure that something like this would work. But to be honest, 4 years later, we are just pulling the doors off of not just sales, because everybody's doing that, but we're also blowing the doors off of customer counts, increased activity, and becoming the #1 filter manufacturer, not only in the United States, but in the world. And it really has a lot to do with a lot of the marketing efforts that Graham has talked us into. I mean, just in the last month, we've had 3 or 4 examples. Now we're getting to the point where customers are so comfortable with this whole thing, and these engineers want to get more and more information. They're contacting an engineer, which is part of our program. We have had 3 examples just this month where they called engineers based on a white paper, based on a content piece that was interesting enough for them to ask questions. And our engineers and regional managers were able to talk to them, tell them, hey, use this filter, try this product. And surprise, we got some orders. So Graham, to go full circle, it's coming, and it's been fantastic, definitely in the last 12 months, where the sales are starting to come in from everything we built. And I can honestly say it's really successful. We even found one, actually 2 customers, and I'll just mention these and let my buddy talk. In the EV charger market, which is golden right now for Schaffner, okay, which they will become one of my biggest accounts in the next 12 to 24 months. I can guarantee you that. And that was from a lead generated from Graham's program. And then we have an LED marketing customer that downloaded a white paper on our lighting campaign last summer and has now signed up and sent us a 50K PO on a product that they picked out, with our regional manager based on that information. So, I mean, I can't say more about it, or it can't get even more successful, but I know it will. So that's my spiel.
That's
Thank you.
Ken's spiel. So Scott, I'll let you go, but first I want to say you kind of look like John Elway. I just noticed this, and you're kind of giving off John Elway vibes.
I just get in Denver,
Yeah.
Looked like John Elway. If I just had John's money, it'd be the same. I actually had dinner with John Elway. That's a different story. We'll have to go into at a later date.
Wow.
Okay.
A friend of mine said, "You want to go have dinner with John and Janet and some other friends of ours?" And I said, "I'm busy this weekend. I can't." He said, "You'd really like to meet John and Janet." I go, "John and Janet who?" He goes, "John and Janet Elway." I go, "Wait a minute. Looks like all my plans canceled for the weekend. I'm there."
That's really cool.
Good guy, and of course a Hall of Famer for the Denver Broncos. Wish I had my Bronco flag behind me. So, but let's talk about Graham. So I've known Graham for many, many years. We did advertising with him back just when it was Item Media, and formed Lectrix, and we started doing marketing. And Lectrix is our full marketing department. We use manufacturers reps for our outsourced sales function. Lectrix is our outsourced marketing, and they do all of our marketing. Now they place all of our ads. They put our ads together. They do our website. They do the lead generation, the white papers. And I have to tell you, Graham, close your ears for just a second. It's the easiest thing that we do in terms of marketing, and it generates leads. And I will tell you that our reps thank us for the leads all the time. We have folks that follow up on every single lead, and it turns into business. Maybe not always quell business, but it turns into business. And that's what we need, is qualified names that we can turn over to our sales folks so they can go and sell the quell and have some success. And Graham, really appreciate all your efforts on our behalf, and it's been a huge success.
Thanks, Scott. That's wonderful.
So there's some success stories for you, Graham. I figured that would be.
We think we'd make it easy on you, Graham.
Yeah.
Shocked me, and now I'm speechless. But no, that would be impossible for me, right?
Well, that's only because our English is better than yours, of course.
Oh, that's true.
We've got a story about that, but that's another day. When I was running just a publishing company, I don't want to minimize it because it's a very important piece of the business. But I remember one day a client said to me, "I'm kind of done with this faith-based marketing." I said, "What?" He said, "Faith-based marketing." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I buy ads and then I just kind of pray that something's going to come through the door." And that kind of really hit me between the eyes. And so as we were developing Lectrix, I figured out, look, we've got to figure out a way to make sure this works. Okay. We can't be, it's a huge investment to build a company, as you know. You can't get to the end of the year and the clients go, "Oh, well, that didn't work, goodbye." We've absolutely got to know that it works. And these days, all the tools are there. Okay. Rob, you know this, the tools are there. You just got to get the data. You've got to put a bit of strategy behind it. I'm really minimizing it now because, it's not Graham, it's the Lectrix team that, creates this success. We have to figure out a way to make Ken and Scott successful, or their business successful. Once you have that focus, as opposed to we do marketing, then everything starts to fit into place. Yeah. And you need some very talented people.
And Graham, I got to tell you, we measure everything, right? And what gets measured gets done. And we've met all the goals that we've set. We want this many leads. We want this many new sample requests. Mm-hmm. Right. In our business, if we get a sample in and it gets approved, we win. If we don't get the opportunity and don't get a sample, there's no chance.
Exactly. I mean, Rob, this is what I was talking about before this little surprise. We have to figure out what's the metric that makes these companies tick. In
Sure.
Ken's case, it's 10 sales qualified leads per rep firm per month. It's really specific, but it's very specific with Scott and Quell as well. Scott needs a customized sample request for a silicone rubber insert to go into a connector from a Mill Aerospace company. I mean, could we get any more specific than that?
It's pretty specific.
Pretty specific. So yeah, you know, and I gotta say it, you know, all of this works so much better when it's fun and friendly like this. You know, we've had some fun together outside of, you know, back in the good old days when we used to travel and stuff. But you know, the ideas come and the progress comes just from having great people to work with.
Yeah, that's the truth. Well, if you guys have a little bit of more time, I don't know how busy you are, Ken and Scott. I appreciate you guys jumping on. I know Graham's into music. So I was going to get us to play this. I was going to get us to play the same game that I was going to play with Ken, except this time I did a little bit better. So what we have is we have a list here of A, B, C, and D, and then instead of F, I changed the category to dog water because it's terrible. So what we have is we've got a list of bands. So I figured we could take turns, and it's in alphabetical order. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you guys that U2 is not on here. I have no idea why U2 is not on here, but I did not make this. So, you know, I know Graham's into music, and we've got some examples of that. I'll show these first, which I think is really cool. So tell us a little bit about this, Graham, and then we'll jump into the game.
Well, I had to drive into my office today to sign some checks, and these were sitting on the floor. We just had the cleaners go through, and I thought, oh, these would be good to share with Rob. So this is an interesting story. As you can see, it's Clapton. I'm a huge Clapton fan.
Yeah.
I went to one of his 21 Nights gigs at the Royal Albert Hall in London. This is 1991. The pink thing is the all access area pass. A friend of mine was in the road crew for Clapton at the time. And at the end of the gig, and I sat in the third row, and I'll never forget this night, sitting in the third row at the Royal Albert Hall, the lights go down, Clapton walks out, he's probably 10 feet from me, pitch darkness, all you can see is a cigarette. Okay? A cigarette moves across the stage, it was so close you could smell the cigarette. And then he plopped it between the strings on the neck of the guitar up at the head, you know, where the twirly bits are, and started playing in the darkness. It was the coolest thing I had ever seen. It was a great gig. The Journeyman album, which is one of my favorites, had just come out. And at the end of the gig, my friend Rob, by the way, came over and said, come on, Graham. And he pulled me up onto the stage, and we went over to the mic stand where Clapton had been stood for the last 3 hours. And on the left of this, what you can see is the set list, the handwritten set list from that night. It was scotch taped to the floor by the microphone stand. And at one time, it had his boot print on it. That faded away over the years. It's, 30 years now. Yeah. But there were the pics as well, as you can see at the top. And what was interesting about the pics was, one of those pics, if you probably can't zoom in, was given to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Was given to Clapton by Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's a Stevie Ray Vaughan pic that Clapton owned. Well, right. Now I own it. And then the other one is live.
Did he play Layla fast or slow that night? Or were you
fast back then? If I remember,
I don't think the acoustic version, the unplugged version, had really happened. I guess 91.
Okay. So then we got this one, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's just a big post. I went to see the Police when they reformed in 2007.
Yeah.
And I'd always loved the Police, but as a kid, I could never afford to travel south from the north of England. There were no concerts in the north of England, really, to go see them. So I told my wife, if they reform, and I knew they were going to because they were on the big music awards show, I forget the name of it now, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they played together for the first time in 30 years. And I said, they're going to reform. And if they do, I'm going to go see them at the Royal Albert Hall. Because that's where they ended their last tour, the Synchronicity tour. And But by the time it all came around, my wife was 7 months pregnant with our daughter, who's now 13. I think, well, here's my perfect excuse to spend a fortune on great seats. So we won't say how much, but it was a very large sum of money. But we had some of the best seats at the Royal Albert Hall for that police gig in 2007. And my wife sat there, 7 months pregnant with Gabriella. So that's
awesome.
Story.
So I'll be honest, Graham, I have no idea what this is or what this says.
I thought this would be fun.
Yeah.
And if people are watching, they can put it in the chat. Can anybody figure out who that is? You all know who it is. I know you just can't read the language because it's Russian. Does anybody know who that is? Let's see if it comes up in the chat. And if it doesn't, while people are thinking about it, I'll tell you how I came by it. Still living in England, I went on a sailing holiday with a buddy of mine in Yugoslavia, what is now Croatia and some other countries. And I was walking through this very old fishing village, and this old Yugoslavian fisherman was having like a yard sale on the edge of the port, and he had all of this junk, but he had this LP. And he sold it to me eventually for like £5, like $6 or $7. But he was trying to explain to me in Yugoslavian who this English singer was who recorded an album in Russian. It's Paul McCartney. And the reason this is valuable, the album's called Choba BCCP, which is back in the USSR.
Right.
Before the wall came down, in what, 88, 89, and I'm sure you can remember that, the Russian government allowed McCartney to go and record an album, but he could only record it with Russian musicians, no Western musicians, and the communist Russian government was going to release the album, and they had their own record label called Melodia, and this was one of the original 10,000 prints of the CCP album, which I bought for $5 from a fisherman in Yugoslavia.
That's really cool.
I got it.
Did he
That's
sing
probably
in
worth
Russian?
some cash.
Did he sing in Russian?
No, it's all. I've played it a couple of times. It's all in English. It's very sort of blues, 12-bar blues kind of stuff. Scott, very sort of like early Beatles pop. Very, very cool though. And it's still, well, until I put it behind glass, it still plays. Now then, it was released
really cool
in the West, and now you can go on eBay and find a copy for like $5. But I had this verified a few years ago, and it's one of the original 10,000 Russian official prints.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Scott and Ken, do you guys have time to stick around? If y'all got stuff to do, we know you're busy.
We just run companies. We have plenty of time. Don't worry about it.
So I thought we would play this game, and Ken, this is the game I should have chosen for us. Instead, I went with fast food and the Arby's Meat Mountain.
Yeah, I happened to be on a diet at the time. Thanks a lot, Rob.
But I figured since we're all music lovers, we could go through, and these are in alphabetical order. They're not all there, but it's mostly everyone you can think of, and I thought we could rank them, and then I'll publish this on LinkedIn, Graham, as kind of our thing. So I'll start, and I'm going to start with the Doors, and I'm going to put the Doors in the A category. So Graham, I'll let you go next. Funny story about the Doors. I actually have a Doors tattoo on my arm that says "People are strange." So that's my contribution to the Doors. So
love it.
You're up.
I got to pick an A-list, my A-list client.
You can choose whoever and put them wherever, but I just went ahead and knocked the Doors out.
Okay, I think most likely it's got to be Cream in my A-list because it's classic.
Okay. So Cream going to the A. All right, Ken, we'll let you go. Do you want me to go ahead and just grab Fleetwood?
Oh, is it in there? I didn't see it.
It's right here. They had the weirdest picture. They chose the Penguins.
That, so you got to put that in first.
Yeah. Okay, so he's going to the A with. All right, now Scott. Now, see, I don't know any kind of music you like, so this will be a curveball for me.
Frankly, I love country music, but I'm going to go. ZZ Top has to be on there.
I don't think they are.
They're not.
No, and U2's not on here either. But
Top.
I didn't make it. It's the best one that they offered. I promise. I went through all of them, and I couldn't add anything.
Well, you got the Stones.
Yep, the Stones are here.
Got to be.
Yeah,
Stones got to be up there.
All right, so Stones will go up to A for Scott. All right, so I'm going to take one for the team here, and I'm going to take Imagine Dragons, and I'm going to put them in the dog water category because I can't stand them. All right, Graham, you're up.
Oh, boy. Let's scroll down a little bit, hey, Rob, and see what else is in there. Wow, what would I put? Oh, you know what? I would put Greta Van Fleet in your B category.
Okay, you want B or A?
B. Let's put them in B because let's face it, they're not Led Zeppelin, but they do a pretty good impression.
That's true. I've seen Robert Plant in concert, which is pretty interesting.
Oh, you have seen them?
Yeah, at a music festival. It was just him, though, obviously, but it was still really cool. All right, Mr. Ken, you're up.
Well, I'm going to go contemporary. I think I see Billie Eilish because I just think that girl is great.
She's talented.
I'd put her up in B at least.
Okay, so she's going to go to B. All right, Scott, you're up.
Is Queen on the list?
Oh, my God, they better be. If not, this is a bad list.
Oh, that's a shame because I don't
see them. They're not on here.
Queen.
There's no Queen. There's no U2. There's no ZZ Top.
ZZ Top and Queen are both A's. So
correct.
You got to put the Beatles up there then.
Okay. Beatles are A. We all agree Beatles are A, right? They changed everything.
Yeah, you got their A. They're absolutely A.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with something strange again here. I'm going to take System of a Down, and I'm going to put them in B because System of a Down is awesome. If you ever need to clean your house, you just listen to some System of a Down, and you'll get it going. All right, Graham, you're up.
Well, it gets a bit trickier now after the really good ones are gone.
Yeah.
Let's take a look here. You know what? Let's take Bowie and put him in B as well.
Who?
I was David Bowie.
Okay, good call.
To the right. I was listening to if you like Bowie.
Is he under Bowie or David Bowie? Oh.
Over to the right, next to Cole.
There he is. Gotcha.
You
said B?
To a Motorhead album on the beach at the weekend. And I didn't know this, but before Lemmy died in 2017, I think this was 2015, they produced an album of covers. Can you imagine Motorhead doing a covers album? And it is unbelievable. I mean, it is so good. And so they did a cover of Heroes, which I now can't stop playing. So that's how much I love Bowie.
Interesting. I like David Bowie a lot too. All right, Ken.
All right, I gotta go Old Jersey on you guys.
Okay.
I saw Frank there somewhere.
Oh yeah, I love Frank.
If he's not New Jersey and New York, who is? You got to put him up in A.
I'm all about Frank in the A category.
I still play his stuff.
Yeah, Fly Me to the Moon is fantastic.
Love it.
All right, Scott. Sorry, none of your bands are on here, but
it's now I'm looking at the list, so I have to pick somebody that you got on here. But the first concert I ever went to was the Rolling Stones, Kansas, in Boston. So I'm going to take Boston.
Yeah. All right, where do you want Boston at?
I only pick A bands. I don't,
So
everything I got, you can pick it A or B. I don't know if it fits.
No, it'll keep going. We can make room for it.
There you go.
Hey, it's
all right.
Good.
So I'm going to do one for my grandfather, and this was his favorite band. So I'm going to take CCR, and I'm going to put CCR in B. I think you could make an argument for A, but I'm gonna leave them in B because I just don't think they're quite in this class. All right, Graham, you're up.
Did I see Talk down there?
Let's see here. Talking Heads.
Talking Heads. I thought I saw Talk. No, maybe not. I was thinking about, I sort of grew up in a period when there was that sort of transition between, classic rock and what did they used to call that? Like the new romantic period. And so, some of those bands were very impressive. But I don't think you can do this list without putting Sex Pistols up there.
Okay, where do you want them?
I think they go in a C.
Okay.
Because there wasn't that amount of material, but they blew the lid off rock and roll. That famous TV interview, I don't know if you ever saw that. They were the first band to ever curse on English television. And it the newspapers couldn't stop talking about it for weeks.
Okay.
There was something else.
All right, Mr. Ken, back to you.
Well, I saw the Prince symbol somewhere. I got to go with my man Prince.
That's.
He changed my life back in the 80s. Okay.
I agree. And I'm going to put him in A because
You
I
can
love
do that
Prince.
because he's one of my, I've got almost every album.
Yeah. I love Prince. All right, Scott, to you.
Well,
we don't have to do all these because some of these I'm not familiar with.
So first of all, this is very educational, but we don't need no education.
Okay, you want me to get Floyd for you?
Yeah, you can't pass Pink Floyd.
Where are they at?
Right up, just above the Chili Peppers.
Okay, there you go. You want them in B or A? I guess Scott only picks A's.
Oh, I only pick A's.
Yeah. All right. So let's see here. You know what? I'll take Hall & Oates.
Yeah, good one.
I like them.
I'll put them in B. Mark and I were talking about Hall & Oates earlier today, so I'll pick him. All right. Graham, to you.
I'm going to try to pick something in the dog water category, but
Okay.
it wouldn't be fair of me to pick a band that I don't really know, but there are several here I don't really know. You know, I was thinking of putting, oh, yes, I do. Katy Perry. That's
I knew it was going to.
Oh my God.
Is this Katy Perry?
No, up one level, two to the left.
No, her name is there. But, you know, she kissed a girl and liked it. So come on.
Not a big Katy Perry fan either.
Katy.
You know what's so funny is when I was
Rob.
actually going through this, I thought this was Katy Perry because she has so many different
That's
hairstyles.
actually Justin Bieber, I think, by the way, guys.
I don't know who that is.
I think so.
All right, to you, Ken.
There was something I'd put in the doghouse. I forget where it went now because where the hell did it go?
I'll keep scrolling slowly.
No. Hold on. I just missed it. It was something that's kind of contemporary that I just can't listen to. Go up a little. Oh, Kesha. Thank you.
Oh,
That's
yes, that's an easy dog water category.
I just can't. I just don't know what's going on there.
All right, Scott, do you want to contribute to the dog water category, or do you want to?
Water. I mean, you know, they're probably well thought of around the world, but I am not a Metallica fan. So as far as I'm concerned, they're dog water.
Okay, I'm gonna put them in D. Have you ever seen the video of them performing in front of like over 1 million people in Russia?
No.
Oh my God, that is it's the craziest visual you'll ever see. It's just nuts. There's so many people there. I'll send it to you guys. It's pretty crazy.
Patty, I think we're at that age where we missed the Metallica bandwagon. You know what I mean?
Maybe that was it.
That was my brother's big thing.
All right, I'll do this one for my dad. I'm gonna take Journey.
Oh, I love Journey.
And I'm gonna put Journey in the A because Journey is some of the best sing-along music that you can ever listen to.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you're at a bar and you've had one too many and Journey comes on, everybody's singing Journey.
That's right.
So they're a lot of fun. All right, Graham, to you.
All right. Yeah, there's a symbol down there. I wonder if anybody knows what it is because I don't. If you scroll down, see that red square next to the Killers?
Yep, I have no idea.
Anybody know what that is?
I have no idea what that is, and I know music, but I don't know that one.
That's the Equestrians.
The what?
The what?
I just made that up.
You had to go in there.
I'm hoping it's not the Kings of Leon because it is in order.
I was looking for Kings of Leon because they're a bit of a favorite right now.
They'd
but
be
I
up
don't recognize that as their logo.
It's my fiance's favorite band.
I think.
You know who else is missing? There's no Michael Jackson here.
Well,
yeah, we'll send him a letter, Scott.
I think probably the last one here that really's got to be somewhere is Hendrix. It maybe in the
Agreed.
B, just because we're killing the A section here. Sorry, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's okay. B is still really good company.
I used to walk past his what do you call it? Not graveyard. The place that he died. I lived in West London, and I worked in another part of West London. And if you know the story, he died in an apartment in Notting Hill. I used to walk past that apartment every day for years. on my way to work.
It's very interesting. Yeah, he's awesome. All along the Watchtower, you know, I probably cite all the famous songs because I'm a younger person, but that's a great song. I love that one.
And all the covers of it are good too.
Yep. All right, Ken, to you. We'll go through Ken and Scott, and then we'll each do one more.
Well, I got to go with somebody that I actually spent time with in the recording studio and that I kind of knew for a couple of weeks. Billy Idol. Spent a couple of weeks in our recording studio when he did that Hot in the City kind of thing, and that was back in the 80s. I'd even give him a B, by the way, because he had some good stuff. And White Wedding was played at my wedding, and it was what started my wedding to be the craziest function ever be.
I could see Ken rocking out the White Wedding.
It had just come out, and everybody went nuts.
We need to get the video of that.
Well, I wish I had it, but that was back in the dog days of no video. So what am I going to do?
Fair enough.
Back with Beta, Ken?
Yeah, it was. I don't even think it was Beta. It was some big ass camera that cost $5,000 to get one little video for 20 seconds.
So, little known fact: Kenny Rogers spent 2 weeks in Las Vegas. My wife and I, Kenny Rogers at the Mirage Hotel. Wow, that's a longer story. So I got one more pick. You know, I grew up with Kiss.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That was way back in the day. So let's put Kiss up there. I'll put him at a B.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll each do one more pick here. So let me try to do a good one that would make my family proud. All right. I'm going to do
this list either.
No. All right. I'm going to do this one for Mark Motz here. I'm going to take The Who.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to put The Who, and it was between The Who and The Clash. But I'm going to move The Who up to the A because that's Mark's go-to. One time, so when we were all working remotely, I'm going to tell on Mark here. When we were all working remotely, I called Mark on Teams, you know, and he was absolutely blaring The Who over his Alexa. And
wow.
it was so loud he had to get up and go tell the Alexa, like, from this close to turn off because he couldn't talk to it because it was playing so loud. And I was like, that's pretty awesome. So I'm taking The Who here.
The secret life of Mark Mossinger. Who
that's
would ever expect it?
Rocking out to The Who.
Mark is a Who fan, but now I can.
Yeah.
Man,
he loves The Who.
Wow.
I'll keep that
all right, your final choice, Graham.
All right, final choice. Man, oh man. I don't even recognize some of these bands. Bowling for Soup, I've never heard of them.
You're not missing much.
No. So let's see. What would be really good? Iron Maiden, maybe. No. Oh, Green Day.
Okay.
I've got a thing for Green Day right now. I would put them in C. You know, I thought they were very cool until they did a Broadway show. And then I thought, what did you just do? Yeah. Rock bands don't do Broadway shows. You just don't. With that American Idiot, remember it on Broadway?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
It is.
I like Green Day
music, but I do like them.
Good. Cool. All right, Ken, your final choice.
So I'm going to put my R&B flavor on this one.
Ooh.
We got Marvin Gaye down there. Can't forget Mr. Marvin Gaye.
No, we can't.
Especially in the bedroom, boys and girls.
Yeah, I'm going to put him in the A section. I don't think anyone's going to dispute this.
Yeah.
Okay.
No dispute.
Love Marvin Gaye. All right, Scott, pressure's on. Fourth quarter.
I'm sure he's not here, but you started talking about blues. And Eric Clapton, he learned a lot of his trade from Buddy Guy, another great musician. And I'm sure he's not there.
Yeah, there's
no way. Well, scroll down a little bit. How about there's a lot. How about Heart? I like Heart. I was just listening to Heart the other day.
Where are they at? Okay, here we go. Where do you want to put them at, Scott?
In this list, I'd put them C. Let's put them C.
Okay.
They're probably B, but, you know, there's a lot of good names in B.
Yep. All right. Well, that's our list. I will post this on LinkedIn. I'll make sure to make a note that, Scott, you are not happy with the choices that were provided to you. But, hey, I can't make the list.
There wasn't one country western artist in there.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that, Scott.
It's probably true. I'm not a big country guy myself.
Not even Garth, Scott. Not even Garth.
You think Garth? Yeah.
If I'm going to listen to country music, I'm going to listen to Brooks and Dunn, Oot Scoot and Boogie. That's the only country song that I know. And I used to like, I guess I loved it when I was like 4 years old.
Hey, I'm the guy that considers Marshall Tucker Band the only country band. So go figure.
Yeah, we're in the same boat.
Toby Keith, 1,562 beers ago.
There you go.
Exactly.
Well, Scott and Ken, thanks for joining us on this call. That was a lot of fun,
guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
Guys,
Take care, Graham.
Right.
Sorry to crash your party.
I'll catch you guys later.
All right.
All right. Have a good day. Adios.
see you soon. Oh, that was an interesting surprise, Rob. Lots of fun.
I figured, instead of you telling us how awesome Lectrix was, we could talk to some people who actually use your services, and it would resonate a little bit more.
Yeah.
I guess would be the word.
They tell it how it is. I mean, they're great supporters and great friends, but let me also point out they're also the first people to tell me when something could be better.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is the most important thing ultimately.
They're straight up guys.
You have to be nimble and you have to be adaptive, especially in today's world. If you're not, you're going to get eaten alive. And that's just
very true. That's
the way it is. So I kind of want to jump back on topic and just ask you a couple of things. You've kind of touched on it, but I kind of want to just talk about it a little bit more. I want to talk about, and, I ask everybody this, the whole COVID thing, right? And, you working remote 2 days on, 2 days off and having a 4-day work week. It sounds like COVID didn't really affect your company, but I would like to talk about, I kind of want to pivot from the usual question I ask. And I guess the question would be, how did your marketing strategy change during COVID, if at all? It might not have, but if it did change, how did it change?
How did it change? Well, tactically it didn't change, Rob. In other words,
sure,
we continued doing the same things that we'd already be doing. So a lot of virtual presentations, webinars. What changed was the volume. I don't mean the loudness, I mean the quantity. We just did more of it. And we started experimenting with variations of the virtual marketing stuff that we'd already done. I'll give an example. So, we do webinars in conjunction with ERA, ECIA, Women in Electronics, with our clients and all the rest of it. But what we tried out, which was pretty successful, was taking a webinar audience and then inviting a handful of people from the webinar to a private roundtable. So it's like a Q&A session from the end of a webinar and saying, hey, hold the questions, folks. What if we all get together for another hour next week and we can really dig into this stuff? Because, often the Q&A at the end of a webinar is often the most interesting stuff, isn't it? People come up with questions and go, oh, I wish I thought of that question. That's a really good question.
Right.
And the Q&A usually only gets covered in 5 minutes and everybody says, well, we could have done an hour of this. So we did an hour of Q&A. So a lot of our webinars had a complimentary hour, which we sort of called roundtables, and that was a really good way to sort of engage people on another level. Because
that's very clever.
It's a very clever thing to do. Like this, instead of just getting registration numbers. Oh, we had 100 people watching our webinar. Great. To us, that's not job done. That's step one. Step two is, all right, let's get to know some of these folks.
Yeah. No, that's very clever. Very, very clever. And how did that work? I mean, I'm going to assume the response was really good.
Yeah. People felt we had a sign-up sheet, just a Google sheet, and folks watching can do this themselves. It's really simple.
Sure.
Allow people to sign up and sign out. So if you see me coming on the roundtable, like, I should probably not be in a meeting with that person. We're a bit competitive. You can sign out as well. You just delete. Okay. And it's a whole trust system.
Sure.
The registration, that's how it worked. But the effect of it was very good. I mean, we were using this as a marketing tool for Lectrix. We're now in the process of rolling it out for some clients as well. But for Lectrix, it enabled us to really connect, one-on-one with people that we just didn't know before. And some of those have become clients and some of them have just become good friends.
Right.
It was very effective. Very effective.
Cool. That's awesome. So here's my big J journalism question, right? And this is what I ask everybody. And it's kind of a tough question, but it's been really interesting to ask people because I keep getting different answers, but they're all good answers. So it's a two-part question. Number one, what is a leader? And number two, why is leadership important in today's world?
I've heard you ask this question before, and I'm not sure if I didn't sit down and kind of formulate my own answer. I probably should have done. But what makes a good leader? Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind, and maybe because I might have heard somebody else say it, Rob, I'm not always that original. I got to say that listening is got to be key.
No one said that yet.
Really? I think a good leader is a good listener. Not because it's the alliteration of the L's and it sounds good, but I really do think it is. I sort of frequently ask myself, am I being a good leader? So a way to examine that is just kind of look back at the past. Well, what have you done? And one thing I noted about the transition, like the retooling of my company from Item Media into Lectrix, it's one of those things you realized it after the event. I'm in my late 50s. Everybody I hired to build this new company was probably in their 30s, 20s, a couple in their 40s, but I didn't really hire anybody. It was my age, not because I was being age discriminatory. It's because the people I needed with the digital skills happened in that age group. But here was the weird thing. So I'm the leader, they're the employees, but they knew more about the specifics of digital marketing than I did. So in order to lead them, I really had to listen to them. I had to learn a whole new job from them.
Yep.
In order for me to be able to lead. Does that make sense?
Oh, it absolutely does. We kind of, Mark and Emmett and I joke about this a lot, but that's kind of the, dynamic that we have here is that I'm obviously our tech guy, but the great thing is it works both ways, right? So I've got the technical experience and I can do the technology stuff, but Mark and Emmett have so much experience and I've learned so much about the sales process, the products, what does this term mean? There's certain terms that I have no idea what they mean until I went and talk to them. So it really works both ways, right? So I think whenever you have a wide variety of, age, background, different cultures, once you start bouncing things off each other, you just create such a good, well-rounded company that it really sets you up for success. So I think younger people and older people, no one get mad at me. They work really well together because if you're willing to bounce things off of each other, then nothing bad will ever come of that. And, I use this term a lot, especially to my buddies and other things. It's all about being a star in your role, right? And it's about doing what you do and doing it at a high level. And if you're a star in your role and everyone else in your company is a star in their role, then you're going to succeed. I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah, I think if you can create that environment of respect for what the other person knows for their specialty,
exactly,
you end up creating a very, very sort of productive environment.
That's right.
Certainly for small to mid-sized businesses like ours, I think you have to sort of create that horizontal sort of feeling to the organization. We have never been an organization where everybody comes to the office and Graham stands up and tells everybody what to do and they do it. I mean, it just wouldn't happen.
It does.
But to create what's going to be good leadership in that environment, I think my first answer would be listening, which funnily enough is not one of my greatest skills. Ask my wife.
I think my fiance would agree with that too. But I try. I put forth an effort. So another question that I ask people that's pretty funny, and it's weird because again, when we decided to do this interview, you're in marketing, right? So whenever I talk to people in the electronics industry, the question is, hey, why do young people need to get excited about the electronics industry and what would they like about it? For you, you're in a quote unquote younger industry. Marketing is huge for people my age. And, you have social media managers, you have product managers, all types of stuff. So I guess the question would be, what have you enjoyed most about switching to a completely digital marketing style company? And how much have you enjoyed that change?
Oh, that's a really good question. How much have I sort of enjoyed it? What was it? Yeah, you know, I've always sort of, I think, I've been a sort of a product of the 1980s. You know, you ever see the movie with Michael Douglas and Wall Street, you know, lunches for wimps and all of that. I mean, I was a product of that era where, you know, we were always ambitious and always sort of driven to be successful. And so I've never really shunned change or the fear of change. I've always sort of been that type of personality, for good or bad, that sort of embraced it. So I enjoyed the whole process, but I don't want to sort of undersell it in any way. It's an enormous effort to go, you know, to retool a company
Sure.
pretty much completely from that to this. There's some real tough patches any company would have to go through to get there. But what have I enjoyed most about it? Well, obviously the success, you can't not say the success of it. So I've enjoyed it.
That's why you do it.
But it's the, you know, it's the product of the efforts, and really seeing the team come together, and you see problem solving happening without you participating. You know, if you hire smart people, my late father-in-law, Bob Goldblum, you know, taught me sort of many years, you know, the best route to success is hire really good people and then get out of their way.
That's right.
And I've tried hard. I don't think I've always succeeded, but I've tried very hard to follow that. And I've seen that be the case with Lectrix. And I've really enjoyed standing back, you know, and watching it come into shape.
Yep. I agree. And by the way, you know, I mean, what we can do is we can actually, underneath this event, we can put some examples of the EMI and the Quell stuff, because the product really is good from a marketing perspective. It's pleasant to look at. I know that may sound silly on its face, but whenever I get something that's marketing material, I want it to look pleasant. I want it to, you know, for Quell, it looks really cool. You know, you've got airplanes, helicopters, you know, stuff. It really catches the eye. So the product is really good.
Humans too.
Right. You know what I mean? And some people, you'd be surprised how many people miss the mark on that. It happens quite often. I get a lot of emails, as you can imagine.
Sometimes, you know, I think design as a discipline in our industry is underserved and not recognized. As I say, that, you know, design engineers are humans too. I mean,
that's right.
They may not recognize it always, but they do respond to good design. And you know, we joke in the Lectrix office whenever there's a success, our creative director Chris will say, it was all in the design. You know, it was the design work that did it. And half
great job, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. Half the time, it's not a joke; it's real. You know, it's hard to quantify, but design, you know, plays a huge role in getting that initial engagement.
Yep, that's true. Well, this has been fun, man. I hope we can do it again.
Fun surprises. I really enjoyed the music game there.
We had actually a comment from the music game, and Zach said, "This is helping me upgrade my playlist." So, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know what the shape of his playlist was, but glad we could help. So what we'll do is we'll post some examples of this under the event stuff. If there's a manufacturer who wants to get in touch with you, I wanted to remind everybody it's lectrixgroup.com. Not Lectrix.com, Lectrixgroup.com. Graham, do you want to give your information, or do you just want them to go to the website?
Yeah, you can find it there. In my email address is simple. It's graham@lectrixgroup.com, and often the way to find me is just through LinkedIn. You know, available any way you can figure out to find me.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on, man. When I cue you out, hang out in the lobby. I want to catch up after I shut the stream down.
Hey, Rob, thanks, and thanks to you for putting on such a different flavor, and, you know, an hour and 90 minutes of something a little different in the electronics industry.
Thanks.
I think you're onto something big, man.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, I just want to have a good time. It's like you said earlier, you know, sometimes it's having a little bit of fun while you do things is kind of the secret sauce there, you know. So
absolutely.
Everybody, that's Graham Kilshaw from Lectrix Group. Again, that's lectrixgroup.com. Don't forget the group. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right, guys. Again, that was Graham Kilshaw from the Lectrix Group. I'm going to keep repeating this. It's lectrixgroup.com. Go check it out. If you're in need of a marketing manager, someone who can help you take your business to another level, go check them out. You heard Ken and Scott. They already endorsed the guy. So go check it out. I approve as well. I'm a manufacturer's representative, so I work directly with Graham. He's awesome. His team's awesome. They'll work directly with you. With that being said, I'm Rob Brunson from Wallace Electronic Sales. Thanks so much again for joining the stream. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, everyone, so much for watching the stream. It's Rob Brunson with Wallace Electronic Sales. We want to provide you and your company with quality and competitive solutions. We don't care if you're a small OEM, a medium-sized OEM, or a large OEM. We have solutions that we can provide to everybody. Feel free to drop me an email at rob.brunson@west-inc.com. Again, that's robbrunson@west-inc.com. You can also check out our full OEM line card on our website, and that's at west-inc.com. Again, that's at west-inc.com. Thanks so much again for watching the stream, and we look forward to talking to you soon.